Jets have made multiple moves and also have given some major injury updates. We're going to break down exactly what those moves are, what that means going forward, as well as discuss an injury update that has Jets fans fired up. Stay tuned for all that in this episode, folks. Before we get into a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. If you're part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Jets content. So make sure to smash that subscribe button. Ladies and gentlemen, and if you're over on Hattrick HU, hit the button as well. Place to be for daily NHL content. But a lot to go over surrounding the Jets. They're playing really good hockey. They're top of the NHL. And obviously, Hayden Fleury went down on Monday against the Leafs with a pretty bad injury. And fans, we had a video on it yesterday. We're a little bit concerned. We have an update on his front. We have an update on Logan Stanley's front. And we have a couple of moves that have went down as well. But there is some things to go over. And let's start with the first one. You can see right here. So Logan Stanley. Now, he is a familiar face on this channel, familiar face among Jets fans. He's nearing a return. It looks like Logan Stanley will be a full participant today. He hasn't played the last two games. And we spoke about it yesterday on what Ville Heinola's increased role is going to look like if Stanley's out, if Hayden Fleury is out. Obviously, Dylan Sandberg is out. So it seems like Logan Stanley is going to be a full participant, as well as Hayden Fleury. He's not at the Jets practice. We'll have more into that later. But there is Logan Stanley. He's looking like he is on the brink of a return.
Yeah, and Hayden Fleury, it looks like he may not return for quite some time. So there's a lot of movement on the blue line for the Winnipeg Jets. And I'm curious, let us know in the comments what you think about Logan Stanley, your unfiltered comments, because I've been seeing a lot of, split decisions, honestly. A lot of people think that he has great use and they need that physical presence in the playoffs. And a lot of people think that he's completely useless and doesn't belong on the Winnipeg Jets, but I'm sure it's somewhere in the middle. But Logan Stanley looks like he's nearing a return, which is good news. You never want to see a player out with injury. So it looks like he will slot in or back into the lineup for the Winnipeg Jets here, because obviously it was getting a bit hairy on the blue line. They were missing a lot of players due to injury. Sandberg's still out. We'll touch on that as well. And obviously Hayden Fleury looks like he might miss some time and was not at practice, like you mentioned, their last practice. So it doesn't look like he'll be back anytime soon at this point. There was no real update regarding him. He's still, I guess, day-to-day at this point. At the time we're recording this, at least, we haven't heard too much about it, but that is pretty significant for the Jets. And moving along here too, Scott Arniel did offer a bit of an update in terms of he tried to skate yesterday morning and it didn't go the way that they wanted it to. So again, it looks like he might be out long term at this point, week to week right now, and I guess he'll be reevaluated at the end of next week, and they'll kind of go from there. So hopefully they get him back soon, because he has been playing well, Nick. I mean, he's been putting together some pretty good games after, we saw the defense get depleted. Heinola was coming in playing with Stanley, and we were like, oh no, what's going to happen here? Obviously Sandberg's out, and he stepped in and he played some decent minutes for this team.
Yeah, and ultimately Hayden Fleury, like you mentioned, he tried to skate, so things were looking up. He probably wasn't feeling too bad. Came on and either re-aggravated something or just wasn't feeling quite as good. All of the information they gave was it didn't go as he'd hoped. So not ideal if you're a Winnipeg Jets fan, but they have other guys who need to step up, as they have recalled Dylan Coghlan from the Manitoba Moose. So Dylan Coghlan called back up on the ice at Hockey for All today. That's a weird way to word that. Logan Stanley is a full participant at practice. No Dylan Sandberg. He skated on his own before practice. No Hayden Fleury. We'll get updates from Scott Arniel on everyone today. So Dylan Coghlan is now back up. They've also made another move, which I'll dive into a bit later in the video, which is not calling somebody up, but actually letting someone go. But again, Sandberg is starting to maybe, not near a return necessarily, but is making progress, which is actually something that we didn't think was going to be a huge talking point. We thought he was going to be out for a very long time. He skated on his own before practice, so he's making progress there, which would be a huge addition, especially as the months and the weeks go on. Hayden Fleury, like I mentioned, is going to be out for a while, so I'm a little bit concerned about that. But Dylan Coghlan, a lot of Dylans. Dylan Coghlan is looking like he's called up for the Jets now. It's obviously yet to see how the lines are going to shape out and all these things. But at least they have some defensive depth coming up here. But at the end of the day, do you have any thoughts on this particular move? Again, Coughlin's an interesting guy. I've seen him before, but it's really a matter of not as much Dylan Coghlan for me, but Ville Heinola and all the other blue liners, Neil Pionk, Josh Morrissey, all these guys, as they have been all year, starting to step up as this season starts to progress now. And as these injuries are piling on, specifically regarding the blue line, which is the one spot where the Jets don't have as much depth compared to their forward group.
You never want to see injuries, but I think this is a great opportunity for Ville Heinola to kind of take control of a spot in the lineup and call it his, right? To really make it his own and solidify his own spot into the lineup. And maybe the top four, it's probably going to be when everyone's healthy, in the top six, obviously the bottom pairing there. But I think that this is a great great opportunity for him. But in terms of Dylan Coghlan, I mean, this is a guy that Jets fans have seen before. Just a couple weeks ago, he was sent back down. He had to go through waivers. I saw a lot of beat reporters in different markets, Carolina included, saying, I have no idea how this guy went through waivers. This would be a great player for a team to pick up on a cheap waiver there. And obviously nobody did. He went down to the Manitoba Moose. Now he's back up, and I think that's a great thing. And credit to Kevin Cheveldayoff as well, that he's able to, identify some of these players, bring them into the organization, and keep them around like this, because I think he's a really good piece that's going to be able to fit in here and kind of do his part with a lot of injuries, and he won't, look necessarily too out of place. Obviously, he's a fringe NHL player, but I think he can help the Winnipeg Jets obviously weather the storm here through some injuries. But again, like you mentioned, Dylan Sandberg skating on his own. He's nearing a return, but he still has to practice with the rest of the team, so that could be a while still. We're probably looking at a week or something like that, but at least he's skating, and it looks like for the, how significant his injury was, the fact that he's already back on the ice, I think is a really good sign, and he should be back soon. So I think that's great for Jets fans.
Yeah, we didn't think he was going to be back. I mean, there was talks at the start about whether he's going to be back in the regular season, all these things. And again, he's going to be doing these skates for a while before returning to the group, of course. But seeing him even remotely have a positive update is great. So Scott Arneal talking about the Jets lines and pairings when he told him not to get caught up on who's on what pair and when asked about this. With 3 games and 4 nights, seems like we might get a couple looks into Morris pairings, which tonight's might not match these ones. So very interesting there. And we also have a couple of other moves now surrounding the Winnipeg Jets, which is interesting. Not a huge move, but Daniel Torgerson was also put on unconditional waivers for the purpose of his contract being terminated. So that's another move they've made. Nothing, again, he's not going to make a huge deal, but it's not surprising. A guy dropped, there's a couple of articles that being dropped or people talking about it. He was a second rounder, 2020, had a decent season, 20 points in 69 games 2 years ago. Hasn't really been great since. Darius, I don't know if you have any thoughts on him. I know some Jets fans might know who I'm talking about, Daniel Torgerson, but there was a time there where he was looking like a possible NHL player, putting up 20 points in 69 games between, he was never going to be phenomenal for the Winnipeg Jets, but just a fringe guy, and ultimately he's been placed on waivers.
I think the Jets wanted more out of a second overall pick, and second round pick, not second overall. That would be a disaster, but second round pick out of that player, and obviously his development didn't go the way that Jets fans and the Jets organization wanted
Never
it to.
touched the NHL.
Never ended up touching the NHL, so I wouldn't even put him in the fringe category, unfortunately, and I guess they're terminating his contract now, and they're getting ready here for, to add some more contracts, to add some more bodies into the lineup. Trade deadline, obviously next season, what they're going to do in the offseason. So, this is not surprising to me. He hasn't developed. He was drafted already. It's going to be 5 years ago come this summer. So at that point, if you're not making a bit of an impact, then, it's time to let them go, I guess.
Yeah. Let us know down below what your thoughts are. Quick thing before we wrap up. Look at the final screenshot here. It looks like Ville Heinola, Logan Stanley could be the third pair tonight up front. Both David Gustafsson and Rasmus Kupari came off at the same time, so not clear who might be scratched. My guess would be Gustafsson would be scratched, and Kupari gets back in there. He's been fairly solid on the fourth line all season. But that'll wrap it up. Let us know down below what your thoughts are on all these moves. Thank you guys for watching. See you later.